Hey everybody, Stacey Simpson here. I am the reigning Ms. Achievement World as well as the CEO of Pageantrynow, and I'm getting ready to be interviewed right here with the Pageant Project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project. My very special guest for today is someone who's probably used StreamYard as much as I have, and the one person in the pageant industry who's done more of these interviews than I have. Stacey Simpson, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
I am so grateful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm like so excited. Is that crazy? I mean, I'm excited. I'm nervous. Okay, there you go.
You're not honestly okay. I say I have lost count. I don't say I've lost count. I have lost. I stopped counting. It is somewhere. I'm now somewhere in between, probably about 250, 260, going on 300, which I thought was a lot. How many have you done? How many lives, pageant interviews, etc., have you done?
The first year, so 2016, I did 365. I did one every single day at 8 o'clock. And that was since then we've taken
Why?
off, so it's somewhere near 2000 at this point. So.
How? Okay, so I normally start the interview by asking about pageant history, but just to focus on the Pageantrynow side and the interviewing and the red carpet appearances, to focus on that side of things for a second, how did that get started?
That's a great question. I was actually at Miss Universe 2015, the Oops Miss Universe, and I was there with another organization, and I was not supposed to be on the red carpet, and I had spoken to the Miss Universe staff, and I said, "Listen, I just want to interview Seal, so I don't care. I just want to meet him." When I was going through chemotherapy, when
Okay.
I was like, "I just want to meet him," and they grabbed me and they put me on the red carpet, and I was like, "Wait, hold on a second. That's everybody. Like, how did this happen?" And then it got even crazier as it went, because then the next thing I know, I'm not known by anybody. And then Ruba Wilson, from Ruba's World, pulls me onto the red carpet with Perez Hilton and starts interviewing me on You Now, and I'm like, how? Okay, sure, why not? You know, and then I was the last person to interview Steve Harvey before he went on stage and kind of messed up. But the idea of Pageantrynow started at that particular moment, because I realized with You Now, wouldn't it be cool if we could get live interviews happening right away? This was before Facebook Live had existed. You Now was really, and Periscope were the only two ways that you could actually do live interviews. And I really thought it would be really cool to be able to bring pageantry and not just be the crowning moment. I wanted to really get behind the scenes and show what really happens in the world of pageantry, and put a positive light on it, because at that point, especially because of what happened at that Miss Universe, everyone was talking about, oh my gosh, this is fixed, this wasn't real, this was blah blah blah,
Mm.
and and that kind of bothered me, because I've been doing, at that point I'd been in pageantry for almost 35 years, and I was embarrassed to be that girl going, yeah, I compete in pageants, and I didn't like that connotation. And so that's really where Pageantrynow came from, that whole idea of that we can do this now and we can show what
Mm.
title holders are doing. And it's not just that moment they get crowned and that moment that they give up their crown. So there
What
you
have been the biggest takeaways for you over your Pageantrynow career? I mean, so as you said, you were competing in pageants long before that facet of your career started. I'm just curious to know, as a fellow interviewer, have you seen a side to pageantry or learned something about pageantry that you didn't know before this? I mean, obviously I did, but I hadn't competed in pageants. You had. So, over your Pageantrynow career, what have been some of the biggest takeaways for yourself?
That honestly, that the people that I was so like nervous about meeting were just average normal people. You know, the very
Mm.
first time that I interviewed a Miss Universe, I if we go back to like 2012, I made a bucket list and I was like, okay, I'd been told I was gonna die for the third, fourth time in my life. And my husband and I made a bucket list and I said, well, I had never been to Miss Universe. So all I want to do is go to Miss Universe. And the next thing I knew, I was interviewing Miss Universe. Here I am, not only at Miss Universe, but I am on the red carpet at Miss Universe. And so just having that realization that they were just normal people. The year before, Miss Universe was here in Miami, where I'm from, and we were at the very first event. My husband and I got to go, and uh, Gabrielle Eisler sat down next to us. She was literally a chair away from us at an evening dinner. And my husband, we've got 6 title holders at the table with us because it was a VIP dinner. And my husband's texting, he was on Twitter. And I'm like, dude, be in the moment. Look at all of these women. You are in this moment. And he goes, I got you. What do I need to be looking at them for? And Gabby turned and she
The
goes,
right thing to say.
oh, every woman that would heard it went, that is so sweet. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was that moment where I went, these are 20 somethings with cell phones. Like they're no different than I am. And that kind of like made it where I was like, okay, you know, I guess I mean, I'm still in awe. Like I still, you know, I still have those moments where I get butterflies every time I do one of the interviews because I never know, you know, what we're gonna say or what comes out. But they're just real people, just wanting to have, you know, a real life and really have a long lasting effect on the world. And I think that is really kind of amazing. Like, you know, I mean, as you know, like you've seen this world of pageantry. Like, what's been the takeaway for you?
It, I mean, I was going to ask you about just quickly your husband. What does he make of all of this? Because when I came into pageantry, and I think I probably started around 2016, so maybe around a similar time to yourself, but obviously no
Yeah.
pageant experience. I had no idea what pageants were. I didn't know there were beauty pageants in Australia. And then I put up this clip of my very first interview, and it is cringeworthy. It's so bad. But what
So were
does your
mine.
husband make of it? Thank you for saying that. What does your husband make of it now? Does he know any of them, or could he literally walk past, Andre or Catriona or Pierre and not have any idea who they were?
That is also a very interesting question because at one point we were judging a national pageant, and my husband was seated in between Kira Kazantsev and Nia Sanchez, literally between the two of them. And I'm on the other side. This is again before I have really gotten into this place where I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, whatever. I had not met a Miss USA, and I'm like kind of rocking, going, okay, dude. Like I texted him. I'm like, you're next to Miss USA and Miss America, and he went, where? Now, he probably, I mean, I'm sure he knows he could see Pia, if, like, know that it was Pia. Now he probably knows, you know, Catriona as well. Like, I think, I mean, he was doing backstage for like handling the StreamYard when I interviewed Andrea. So
Right.
I'm sure now, like but he doesn't. He's like, whatever, I don't care. Like he's always like, this is your gig, so it's fun. I mean, it's good, and honestly, I think he he's the one that got me back into pageantry because I had taken a really long retirement and
Mm.
decided I wasn't going to do them anymore, and I was really done. And when he and I started dating 10 years ago, he's like, when we got married in 2012, and he said, you know, I think you should do a pageant, and I went, do you know what you're asking? Do you have any clue? And I'm sure that he had no idea that it was going to be like this, and neither did I. Like I've got to say, the last 10 years have been really remarkable, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been pretty awesome. So
Can you walk us through? It's time to ask that question. Walk us through the pageant history. So I normally ask, how did you get involved in pageantry to begin with? And then, as you have identified, you've already had multiple health scares, very serious,
Yeah.
life-threatening health scares. You took a long sabbatical. So, if possible, can you just take us all the way back to the beginning
Sure.
to the crown that you've got now? Just see if you can see if you can condense it, if that's possible.
We'll try. Okay, so someone asked me recently how many titles have I had, and I said I've had over 150. So if we go way to the way back, but the way I got into pageantry at the age of 16, I was physically assaulted by my dad and had to have reconstructive surgery to put my face back together. And 3 months after that incident, my mom entered me into a pageant to raise my self esteem. Most
Mhm.
people don't know this, but I do have Asperger's, so I am on the spectrum. And at that point, I really um, was lacking in the ability to have conversations, and I wasn't confident. And clearly, what was going on in my life was um, pretty chaotic because of
Mm.
the home issues. It wasn't just my dad; there were issues with my mom as well. Uh, and and I was she wanted to make me the girl she thought I should be and put me into a pageant.
Right.
And surprisingly, I placed first runner up, so I was like, "Oh, okay, this is kinda cool." And the next year, Miss Teen USA started, so that became the thing. I had always followed Miss America, I'd always followed Miss USA and Miss Universe, but then that became the prize I wanted to have, which was Miss Teen USA. And I competed for Florida Teen USA. I placed, in the top 30, so out of 150 girls, I thought that was pretty significant
Wow.
considering I didn't
Yeah.
it was bananas. It was and to me that was, I kind of had thought, okay, I'll leave pageantry. I got married a year later because I was trying to get out of my mom and dad's household,
Hmm.
and then competed in Colorado America 2 years later. And again, I placed, but I didn't win. And it just kept being this thing where I did Sunburst and I placed, but I didn't win. And um, I, after that, so I guess 1989, I mean, we're going way back, was my last like pageant as in that particular era. And then
Right.
1996, so 10 years later, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I went through the process of chemo and radiation and everything, but that was on September 11th, 1996. So my 5-year anniversary was the day that changed the United States and I
Hmm.
think the world can see it.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
that was the moment where I went, I've got to do something with my life. I've been given this gift. I've got to do something. And I had a dream I won a pageant. And I mean, like a real actual dream, physical dream. And I went, oh my gosh,
Mm.
like if I wore a crown now, I could give a voice to this experience that I've had of actually overcoming cancer. And I competed, I was competing for Mrs. International. I did the local and the state. And then and was told by the state director, listen, you're just too heavy. You don't fit into this image of what Mrs. International is. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a size 14. It is what it is. I'm not going to try to lose weight to be able to fit into somebody else's standard.
Hmm.
And then went into the first year of Ms. Plus America. So I was Ms. Texas Plus America. And then I placed second runner up. So I thought that was wickedly cool. I fell on stage. like full Sandra Bullock foot face plant. And, I was like, but that process from going from international to Plus America was so significant because I was in Texas. And for
Mm.
anybody that is international, Texas is like, Venezuela. So, like from the standpoint of the way they take
Yeah.
pageantry so
Pageantry.
seriously, it's the place
Yeah.
in the United States where it really is. And I got to travel all over the state, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I was doing multiple appearances. I'd been on TV. I'd been on national TV as this state title holder, and I thought, this is epic. This is what I want to continue to do. And but the feedback that I got from that pageant was I wasn't plus size enough, and I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm a 14. I'm not plus size enough, but I'm not thin enough to be in the categories of what everybody says. And so I came across achievement pageants, and actually that pageant was where I met my director now, Diana Lawrence, who was Mrs. Galaxy previously, and she had also had a previous title to that, which was Mrs. American Achievement, and I had followed that the the process of Mrs. American Achievement becoming Galaxy and it being an achievement pageant. And so my goal back then was to win Galaxy because I thought it was the achievement pageant. That's what I wanted to do.
Mm.
American Achievement had been phased out and had gone from this live system to being Galaxy. And I just admired the heck out of Diana. So I just kept trying to live this vicarious life through her, but also trying to emulate what she was doing. And there was another system. There was American Achievement Ambassador that I won the United States a title, and then I won the international title. Outstanding Woman America. I won. I was Mrs. America Worldwide for the worldwide system, which is now Global United. That it changed names because of a conflict. And I mean, it's just, and I competed in Global United when I came back to pageantry in 2013, and then I won the title. I won her online titles, and then I came across Accomplished American, and I won the national title for Accomplished American. Then I won Accomplished International, and then also won Woman of Achievement 2016 for Florida. So I was Elite Florida Woman of Achievement, went to the Woman of Achievement pageant. I didn't place, but I didn't care because I was hanging out with all my friends and I was in
Mhm.
LA, got to go to The Voice. I was like, I don't care, like it's all good. And then I was doing interviews and came across Diana, and she had started Dr. World. I mean, like our paths had crossed. So we ended up being at Miss Universe together in 2014. It was here in Miami, and I snuck her backstage, and we got to do some stuff backstage. So it was kind of cool to have that moment. And so we kind of like have kept in touch. And then I was doing some interviews for another network, and had wanted to do an interview on classic pageantry and about how the rules of pageantry had changed. And I
Mm.
invited Diana to be his guest, and she's like, I have Achievement World again. We're bringing it back. And I went, where do I sign up? Like, how do I do this? Like, how do I? So that's how I got to here. I mean, there are a lot of little titles in between, but those are like the biggest ones that I've had. So
Where in the story was the break? You said you had a break, a sabbatical for a while. Whereabouts in the story was your break, and why did you decide you needed to take one?
So 2006, so there were two breaks. So from 89 to 2002, I took a break. And then from 2006 to 2013, I took a break as well. When I had won Outstanding Woman in America, I kind of felt like I had topped out. It was another achievement
Hmm.
pageant. It was, and I left kind of with not a great feeling about myself. I just felt like I was doing a whole lot of work and I wasn't necessarily getting enough out of systems for what I was doing. And I mean,
Right.
at that point,
Yep.
I was traveling nationally. I had gotten an airline sponsor myself personally, so I had been to
Wow.
42 states. I like I would literally would leave on Friday, come back on Sunday. And so
Jeez.
I tell people I've seen all of the most amazing airports in the United States, as well as all of the convention centers and hotels you could possibly see.
I don't
It's
know if
like,
there's a
okay,
business opportunity in there somewhere. Reviews of America's best airports, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, maybe I would have to say I have spent more time in Atlanta airport than I will ever want to spend. Like literally, it seemed like every flight had a stopover in Atlanta, and I was like, okay, dude, whatever. So, anyways,
I
but yeah,
don't know if I've been through Atlanta. I remember going through LAX, and as someone who's not used to America, not used to guns, not used to security, LAX, that was an eye opener for me. Thought I'd landed in a war zone.
Yeah, but LA is actually pretty easy. So, the
Oh,
big
jeez.
air compared to Atlanta, Atlanta's bananas. Like, I'm sorry, anybody that's from Atlanta, I love you guys. I love the city, but like your airport is just not. It's crazy. Avoid it at all costs. It you cannot. There is only one. So what you experience at LAX, there are multiple terminals to be able to go in and out of, and to go through TSA, so you get all of your checks.
Mhm.
Atlanta only has one.
So what's the queue like? You mean you got to be waiting forever, right?
3 hours, three
Oh,
hours on a good day, on a good day. And I
why is
go
it
through
like that?
disability now. I because they set it up so there is a one train that stops off at each gate. So you get on a tram and it takes you to the gates, but there is one check-in TSA spot, and then you have gates A through whatever it is, I don't know, and have to no, it's no.
I'm now
It's a
wondering if
lovely
I've
city.
actually been through. I can't. I don't think I spent any time in Atlanta, but I'm wondering now. I do remember going through a large airport, and it wasn't LAX, and having to get on a tram that was so big it basically went outside the terminal and then came back in. We don't have anything approaching that size here in Australia, and like Australia is hardly a third world country. So for me to see that size, um, it was staggering, and not really in a good way, because I was running late because my connecting flight, my inbound flight, was late.
Right.
There was no way I was going to be able to make my outgoing flight because I had to find this tram first, and then it yeah, it wasn't a happy experience.
If you have to change terminals in Atlanta,
Mm,
I always tell people, as long as you stay in the airport, you're probably okay. But if you go outside, so I have a lot of friends that live in Atlanta. So a lot of times, if
mm,
I would get stuck in the airport, like if a flight got canceled, whatever, I have spent the night in LA. I mean, in Atlanta, sorry. And but my friends now, got to the point where they would pick me up, and I was like, okay, I have a flight at 8 o'clock in the morning to get out. So can you drop me at the airport at 5? And they'd be like, "Why?" And I'm like,
that's
"'Cause
insane.
I'm not gonna
That's
get through
insane.
it."
That's the
Yeah,
same time that we need to allow for leaving international flights here in Sydney. But that's generous. You could probably get away with 1.5 hours. So to hear that you need to give yourself 3 hours for a domestic flight, that's crazy.
just to get through TSA, yeah. Now, I mean, it is what I mean, honestly, and, like, Dallas is a really big hub. Dallas is pretty simple. Miami is a huge hub.
Mm,
Even JFK, like, I had heard all of these horrible things about of all of the 3 major airports in New York, and we never had a problem. Like, we go in and I mean, I
mm.
now, because of my ailments, we do go with a wheelchair assistance, but still, like, not like Atlanta.
Okay. So lesson learned. Atlanta is a beautiful place. Come visit, but just don't fly there. Basically, is the
Don't
moral of
fly
the
there,
story.
drive. Yeah, or don't. If you just make sure that you plan accordingly, you're good. So,
Dear me. I don't know if I have the patience for that. But I mean, we're talking about your pageant history. We've talked a little bit about pageantry now. I'm fascinated to ask you what sort of changes you've seen the pageant industry as a whole go through from the beginning as a 16-year-old when you got
right.
involved to now. Because I've seen what I think are quite a lot of changes even over the 4 or 5 years that I've been it. I've been in
Yeah.
it. So I'm fascinated to see what sort of changes you've seen happen in the pageant industry over your career, and maybe some of the big changes you see that are coming up.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that now we're getting a lot more diversity, and I
Mm,
don't mean like, so as a teen watching pageants, I remember one of the biggest emotional moments for me was the moment that Vanessa Williams was crowned Miss America. So here, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, which is a primarily African American Black area. So for me, I felt very, very strongly that seeing this woman and having representation was super, super important. So I remember crying like a baby
Mm.
that we finally had a woman of color that had won a major title. And I'm sure that in Miss Universe we had had that previously, just because of the different ethnicities that we had from all over the world. But it that moment to me was very, very strong. So I love now seeing that we've taken a total, change from that standpoint of that moment in 1985 of that happening to now having so many more colors, shapes, sizes,
Mm.
age categories. Like I
Hmm.
always say that there is a pageant for everybody there. And there wasn't in the beginning, it was a handful of pageants that you could compete in, and not everybody could be successful in it. And I think now there really is that opportunity for anybody that really wants to do a pageant to be able to compete and be successful too. I mean, it takes work. I'm not going to tell you
Mm.
it's easy. Like it took me years. I tell people it took me 20 years to win my first state title. So that was
Mm.
a process. So, if and almost 40 years later, I'm still doing this crazy. But I love it, and I love what we're seeing, and and I love the changes that we're seeing. I think that pageantry, especially stateside, took and I think in Europe and then also probably in Australia, uh, pageantry is taking a little bit of a bad rap from the standpoint of reality television really dictating, the honey boo boos and,
Hmm.
the and also with the internet, the invention of the internet and being able to see things momentarily, and then anytime that there was a missed question on stage or anytime that, somebody fell or any major
Yeah.
thing that happened, it was and it was all negativity. So
Mm.
what I'm hoping is that we're going to have more positivity coming through. I mean, I don't I always am challenged with the whole thing with Facebook and Instagram because everything is so now, 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 now.
Yeah.
And obviously those moments still feed the internet and still feed
Mm.
pageantry in general. But I'm hoping now that we have more people being able to step up and say, like Zosie said, take up space. Well, I just pageantry needs to take up a better space and to show this isn't just a bunch of girls walking around in a bathing suit. This isn't just,
Mm.
women not being empowered. This is really intelligent, articulate women that are, changing the world. And that's one of the things I say in pageantry now. Women, men, pageantry is about changing the world using a crown and a sash. And you look at people like Katrina Gray who built orphanages and schools, like, and that's just one example, but it happens
Mm.
time and time and time again. I mean, look at, like Marissa Butler. She has been in this view of pageantry, and she's doing amazing things with her
Mm.
charity in San Diego. And really, I mean, and it's not just one, like I know you just had Cynthia Lau on Miss Cuba Earth, the Earth Cuba. Again, these are women that are strong and empowered and really changing the world. And I think that's really awesome. And I want to be able to highlight that. And I want to be able to show
Mm.
that this isn't, it isn't a program to sell swimsuits anymore.
Mm.
That went out in the 60s. This is really empowered women speaking their truth and showing themselves as real as they possibly can, in the world of instant fame and fortune.
Of course.
There isn't much fortune with it, but
That's a topic of conversation for another day, Stacey. But I mean, with women like Marissa and Cynthia and many others that you could name and I could name, I mean, those are very good examples of women who I like to think even if pageantry hadn't come into their life, they would still be extremely hard workers, still extremely ambitious. And there seems to be, I don't know what it's like in the United States, but I know in Australia and to some extent the United Kingdom, there seems to be some women, young women who go into it. Maybe it's because of the reality TV angle and this desire to be famous, but who seem to think the only way they can make a difference is they have to win a pageant first. And that if they don't win the title, they can't do anything. So they only talk about their advocacy or their charity work or their purpose within the context of pageantry. And then if they don't win, they completely stop. Have you seen that phenomenon at all stateside?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I know that you did a piece just about people picking up advocacy just to be able to compete, and that you can only
Mm.
fake it for so long, and I think that that is really really true. Like for me, uh, my life is all about the advocacies that I do. Like I
Yeah.
literally am a walking, talking. This is what I do. This is why I do this. Um, and it has nothing to do with pageantry. Like if pageantry goes away, that doesn't change what I'm doing. But I think that a lot of women do, especially when you're younger and you're trying to get into
Yeah.
this world. And again, I think that reality television does play a part in it. That women
Yes.
pick it up because they think that it's the thing they have to
Yeah.
do to be able to
Yeah.
be successful. But I hope, I mean, I hope that that isn't. It has been my experience that most people don't give up the things that they're doing and the things that they're passionate about. Uh, at least I hope so. Like, I mean, and you can tell the people that are not authentic about it. Like, you can get
Mm.
it. I know I can know like a few minutes into an interview. It's like, oh, it's gonna be that. Okay, and I'm sure you can too.
No, that's never happened to me at all, Stacey. What are you talking about?
Never.
I've never been 5 minutes into an interview and gone, oh my God, I regret everything. What have I done?
It's like, how
Has that
many
ever
more
happened
minutes
to
do you
you?
have?
I'm having technical difficulties. I'm losing you. I'm going through a tunnel. I mean, I've got to ask you on that note. I mean, you've interviewed so many people in so many different situations. You've done a lot more in-person stuff than I have, especially during Corona, because there's not been really any in-person stuff. What have been the most memorable moments for you? I mean, you've got so many to pick from, but are there any that really stick in your head?
Well, one, yeah, one became the question that we ask on Pageantry Now always. I was at Miss, I think it was Miss Teen USA. It was right after Pia had been crowned, so it was a couple of months afterwards. And at that point, we'd been doing Pageantry Now every single day since she'd been crowned. And one of the practice questions that I asked people that were getting ready for pageant was, "Do you like frogs? Why or why not?" And so I was live streaming while I'm getting this opportunity to interview Pia, and comment comes up on You Now, ask her the question. So, my first time interviewing a Miss Universe, sure, let me just go ahead and ask her, "Do you like frogs? Why or why not, Pia?" And that was the moment that sealed the deal for me because she immediately went, "No, ooh, yuck, no, no." But like the response was so visceral. And she said, when I was a kid, in the Philippines, you put your shoes outside before you go in the house. And so I came out one morning and I put my shoes on and there was a frog and it didn't. And she's like, but, and then she went, "Why would you ask me that question?" And I went, "Because I got you." For that moment, it wasn't Queen Pia, it was
Mm.
Pia. And that moment was brilliant for me. Like it was magical. And then when I interviewed Catriona Gray, like Catriona and the Miss Universe staff uh, tweeted that they were going
Mm.
live on Pageantry Now. And for the first time in my life of Pageantry Now, I go live, and this is the very first time they had ever done it. They had never done a Facebook Live either. So this is
Wow.
my first. I had done lives before, but the Miss Universe and Miss Universe had never done it before.
Yeah.
And 50,000 people immediately went, and I went, "Oh,
Welcome to the
okay."
Philippines. Ask your frog
I went,
question now.
I was like, and they had the Miss Universe staff had told me, well, you've got 15 minutes tops, and I went, okay, and we were still going 25 minutes into it, and I didn't want to stop, and they didn't stop us. Like we were just so having
Mm,
such a good time, and when I went back to Miss Universe when she gave up her crown, it was brilliant because I said, you know, hey, can I have a minute with you? And she goes, oh my God, you're the Pageantrynow lady with the frog question. I'm so happy to see you, Stacey. And I was like, wait, of all of the people that you have met over the last year, like, so I was like, you know, those kinds of minutes, like to me, I still get starstruck, but to know that I can have that lasting moment
mm,
in their brain too, even if it's just that question, I don't care. But it, I, I felt very, very honored, like, and it has happened, you know, a couple of, I have had the honor of being able to interview the last 7 Miss Universes, and the last 12 Miss USAs. So it's pretty wickedly cool to have those moments where, and a couple of Miss Australias. And I interviewed Tegan. It was pretty actually cool. She was super, super sweet, and she and Nia were became really good friends. So it was nice to be able to have that moment because I interviewed Nia before I ever got to interview Miss Universe. So yeah, I mean, eh, again, they're real people, and I love that. And
mm.
I'm sure that for you, how is it for someone that wasn't part of pageantry? You come into it and go, and why did you do this? Because
It's funny you bring up the frog question. I finish every interview with the same 10 questions, and I didn't come up with them. It's from a show called Inside the Actor Studio, the late James Lipton,
I started
and
asking them too.
there
I
you
love
go.
that,
That's
and I love the questions. They're wonderful. But
he
anyway,
now he didn't come up with them. He apparently took them from, I think it was a French. I can't remember. I think it's called the Bernard Pivot questionnaire or something like that. So I just thought, okay, you got to start strong and you got to end strong. How am I going to end strong? I don't want to have to be on the spot and think of something really memorable. So I'm just going to do these 10 questions. And by now I've done them so many times I can memorize them. Well, I have memorized them. But I don't know if you know, but the original 7th question, this is to answer your question, how much did I know about pageantry when I started? The original 7th question is, what's your favorite curse word?
I know.
So in my very first pageant interview, the one that I said was extremely cringeworthy, I asked that question because I didn't know any better. And she wouldn't answer the question. She literally wouldn't. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I moved on with things. It was all right. But it was only after that I realized, oh, they're not allowed to say, those sorts of things, even though they do behind the scenes. Because I know otherwise. But I had to
I've
replace
done it.
that with,
I've said mine in an interview. Like I actually had to tell Diana. I was like, so the person that interviewed me is from the UK, and they happened to drop that word a lot. So, I did. So I just need you to know that we have to put explicit lyric or explicit language on the before we share.
it's out of all the countries I've interviewed, you have to be careful of the Scots. The Brits are, but the Scots, they're worse. The Australians and the New Zealanders, and the Irish. You put, and my podcast co-host, Danielle, she's Cockney. My other podcast co-host, she's
I
Irish,
love
and then we
Daniel.
had a South African guest on, and it's just like, okay, there's a lot of expletives that we have to be careful we don't say. There's also a lot of alcohol that we have to not consume, because and that was, for me, that's some of the weirdest, because you got to remember, I've not met many of these people in person. I don't know if it's the same as you. I know you've done a lot of in-person red carpet things. I haven't had that opportunity. So I have met Danielle in person once.
Right.
I've not met my other podcast co-host at all. And it's weird. And most of my interviewees, I've not met Marissa, I've not met Cynthia, I've not met any of them. And then, you start interviewing people and you start branching out. Now I've interviewed someone in the Netherlands. I'll be interviewing someone in Denmark, South Africa. And it's just, I don't know if this has ever happened to you where you just go, hang on, I know all these people around the world and it's through pageantry. And if it hadn't been because of pageantry, there is no way that I would be talking to some random person in South Africa or some random person in the Netherlands. And that to me probably is the biggest joy that I take from it, was definitely the biggest joy I take from it. Outside of the pageantry is just the amazing people that you get to meet. And I keep saying, like, I can't think of any other industry, sport, hobby, profession where you would get to meet such a range of amazing women from around the world. And the one thing that unites them is they want to make the world a better place. It's not about them. It's about the impact they can make. So for me, that's like way back when I started, because I was a tennis coach and I'd been coaching at an all-girls school for probably 4 or 5 years. And that's where I saw the issues that young women in particular were having. I remember I had a young girl on court and I saw that she'd cut herself. You could see she tried to cover it up, but you could see these line of parallel cuts. It's very distinctive. And the vice captain of the school, who's a tennis player, had a very bad eating problem, so much so that she was hospitalized in a psychiatric ward on more than one occasion. In fact, one time she was pulled out from her family home, kicking and screaming. That's where I realized, okay, there are some issues that young women in particular face. Not to say that men don't, but with women it's different. And then when I got into pageantry, because for me, it became about how can I help young women? And primarily I wanted to do that through stories. That's why the interviews kicked in. And I made a very big decision in my head that I didn't want to interview celebrities, pretty much because of the same thing with the reality TV. It was like, well, just because someone's famous doesn't necessarily mean they're a good role model. So I wanted to interview people who'd done well, but people who weren't like famous. And then I happened to interview my first pageant girl. And then you know what pageantry is like. It's like Corona in that way. Like you meet one and then it's like
spreads.
2, 4, 8, exactly. And then then you're meeting all these people and then you begin to lose track of who you've met where. But that's how it started for me. And I've always loved interviewing. I don't love so much talking to the camera myself. I've had to accept doing that is part of my job. But the interviewing side of it, hearing the stories, the best part for me, though, apart from the stories, is the laughing. Like when you get, like what you said with Pia. When you get those random moments of just, I mean, I've had a couple of them recently. So I interviewed Miss Earth Australia, and her sister was helping in the background, taking back behind the scenes photos. And Miss Earth Australia's name is Phoebe. Her sister's name was Rachel. And I just said, oh, so when are we getting Rachel in a pageant? And it wasn't like oh, no, she's not really a pageant girl. It was a uncontrolled, almost, the snorting laughter when something makes you laugh so bad.
I do.
It wasn't quite that bad, but she couldn't stop laughing for a solid 30 seconds. And then you can hear her sister protesting in the background. And the sister's going, why are you laughing at me? And like Phoebe was laughing so hard, I thought she was going to have a stomach cramp or pass out. Like she's holding her stomach. And like that, those moments are, to me, just priceless. I don't know. I mean, we're comparing like interview stories now, which is something I've not been able to do before.
Okay, but all right, but well, and before the pandemic, we were trying to get you to come on Pageantrynow, and at that point, the wildfires were crazed across Australia. You were doing interviews from your car, which I was like, okay, so we'll just do this another time, and then the whole world shut down.
You look at my interviews from then, you talk about doing it no matter what happens, you'll see that my entire face and my car is blood red. And it's not because I got funky tinting on my window, it's because there was so much smoke in the sky. No, it was just the smoke in the sky had turned the sun blood red. So I look at my interviews back then and it was, yes, there was a lot of smoke. I have a white car that turned black. And then when I wash it, it turned yellow or brown. But it was just, it was horrific. But it's, when you do what we do, I don't know what sort of stories you have in terms of, technical issues and things like that. I mean, that's a
If there's a
whole.
technical issue, it's a good interview.
I found
I
so many technical issues.
I have a team that started following me when we did the very first show on You Now. That she found me when she was scrolling, and she actually comes into broadcast for me and starts typing if I say, okay, you can find this person there, but she'll be like,
Yeah.
and there goes the technical issues, and now she types out, please stand by, we're experiencing some technical issues. One of our representatives will be with you momentarily.
You
I
sound like you
never
have a
met her. She's
whole
coming to visit.
organization going on there. I do this all myself. Like I'm trying to, but I don't know because you've done some like podcast episodes as well with multiple people.
Yeah.
That's even harder because I don't do anything off of a script. Even my interviews, I never have a list of questions. Maybe I should someday, but if you think having one interview and having to think on your feet is difficult, I tell people, you think that's difficult, try controlling 3 other people, and one of them is Danielle, and you know what she's like. It's like, good
Danny's
luck
a trip.
to you.
I love her. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. Like I was kind of hoping she would be in because I was like we went off on like a whole tangent because when I was doing the other show, it went sideways. Like it was like an hour, almost 2 hours. That I was like, okay, how do we pull this back? Like I'm trying because it's not supposed to be this kind of interview. It's supposed to be like, The View, and no, it went it went sideways really.
Well,
And
I guess I can
unfortunately,
apologize for that one. I'm the one who sent her your way, so it's probably my fault.
No, but honestly, she's brilliant, and I loved it. So to me, it was actually a great experience because we were really trying to pull, you know, people from all over the world and try to pull in that idea of pageantry and having different opinions because not everybody has the same opinions about pageantry. So we had Danny on, we had Rafa Delphin from Critical Beauty, and we don't all see the world the same, and so for the world of pageantry, and yet we could all come together on so many of these things that we are talking about. Just about how pageantry has changed and some of the negativity that has come through reality television and things that have happened with pageantry and then trying to bring back that feeling of elegance and beauty, and because yes, they're beauty pageants, but I really believe wholeheartedly, like with my title, I love that it is an achievement pageant because it really brings out my inner beauty. This stuff, I'm 55, like this takes work. but
you look
but
great.
what I'm thank you. But what I'm doing is what is most important to me. So, I've already said that I'm retiring. This is my last title. I'm done. I really love what Pageantrynow does, and I don't have enough time to do Pageantrynow the way I would like and be a title holder. Being a title holder is a job. It takes a lot of time and effort and work. So and that was really why I ended up not continuing with that show, is because I can't run my own business, which I do have a gymnastics business as well. And that actually, it was interesting you're talking about tennis, because for me, the world of gymnastics was my life as a teen, and I dealt with, on top of the issues I was dealing with at home, I was a gymnast and I had an eating disorder, and pageantry really aligned with a lot of those issues too. And to now be able to have such positive experiences from pageantry and know that if I had not put my foot into the well at 16, I certainly would not have become a teacher. I certainly would not have become a public speaker. I certainly would not have ever had an opportunity to be on national news, to have the different podcasts that I have been a part of as both a host and then also as a guest. Like I think it is remarkable how that moment changed my life forever. And conceivably, gymnastics could have been that place that I still had that moment. I ended up, having a very successful gymnastics business. I ended up working with Olympians in the gymnastics world and did programming with the Olympic team. Uh, could that have been where I stayed in the place that I was in? That's how I ended up in Texas. Uh, but no, I mean, I love my relationship, my positive relationship with the sport and with children, and being a role model for them and being an advocate for them. And then my pageant life, it seems like such a dichotomy because most of the time my hair's pulled back. I'm in, in a t-shirt and shorts, and I'll walk in with my makeup on, and my students will go, "So, Miss Stacy, who did you interview today?" Because they know if this is the face that I have, that clearly I've either done an interview or that I have been interviewed. But that it was really, you know, could gymnastics have been that place for me to have done and
Mm.
met these people and had these opportunities? Sure. Um, I mean, and did I meet some amazing people from all over the world through gymnastics? Yes, but not to this point. Certainly not. I mean, and to me, I think it's really remarkable. I am a guest. My goal as Ms. Achievement World is to be a guest on one podcast every single week. And I have done it since I was crowned in July. Every single week, I've been on a different podcast, and from all over the world, which
Mm.
I just think that lane, which we both started in about the same time, is now the reality. Like the rest of the world is going, oh, wait, maybe we should try this thing where we talk to people from all over the world. Why not?
Do
Get to
you
know their
do
story.
you have you noticed the I mean, back when I started, there also, partly because the technology has evolved to where it's a lot easier now to do something like this or to bring on multiple guests. But back
Right.
in 2016, it was a lot harder, if not impossible, or a lot more
Yes.
expensive, or both. Now it's
All of
become a
those
lot.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember back when I was doing tennis coaching, I taught myself how to play tennis, and that was through doing video analysis. These days, you want to do video analysis of something like a pageant walk, you get someone to hold their phone, they video it, you play it back, slow motion, you're golden, whatever. Back in those
We do
days,
it
it
in
was like two or
gymnastics
three
now.
thousand
Yeah.
dollars to get. I know back, but when I had to do it myself, like $3,000 just for the software. Then I had to take my tripod and my big camera, my whopping great laptop. But my point from that, aside from I'm way too old, I've been doing this for too long, is have you noticed how many more people are doing this now in terms of interviewing? Because I've certainly noticed it's everywhere
Right.
now.
Yeah. Well, actually, and I will go back to that moment on the Miss Universe red carpet. I was the only one with a cell phone. So I
That was a while ago then.
everybody had cell phones, but I was the only one doing my interviews on cell phone.
Yeah.
So I have a phone with my microphone that plugs into it, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean it was it was gangsta, but but here I am. I
Gangster
was
on the
like,
Miss
I don't know.
Universe red carpet.
I'm like, okay, we didn't have lighting, so there wasn't affordable lighting. I mean, now everybody can get something pretty reasonably, but
Yeah.
I had the best at that point, the best of the line iPhone. I spent $300 on this iRig phone microphone to attach to my cell
Mm.
phone, and here I am going, okay, hi, tell me. I mean, and the worst part was is I didn't even do it like across the velvet rope, because most people hand the microphone across and they're not in the video. No, what did I do with Emmitt
Yeah.
Smith? I wrap my arm around him, turn around and go, so tell me about yourself.
You like to get up close and personal. You're one of those people, are you?
I wrap my arm around him. I'm like, so it's world famous number 22 Dallas Cowboys winner of Dance of the Stars, Emmitt Smith. And he went, wow, you know who I am? I went, yeah, I do. I mean, no one else I knew who they were. I mean, I interviewed Charlie Puth, and I was like, dude, I know you from Ellen, so let's talk. I interviewed Shawn Mendes. I had no idea who he was. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't, I mean, the last Miss Universe that Donald Trump owned, I was there for. I was like, oh look there, oh, there he goes. Okay. And that was really before I really had gotten to know, like now I know more of the stories. I know the people.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it has changed. The technology has changed, but I remember that the Miss Universe here in Miami, we were shooting on an iPhone, and everybody went,
Mm.
"What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Interview. They can work on your phone. Just try it." And then slowly but surely, my first Miss USA that I was Pageantrynow, I had two tripods. So I had one that had a GoPro on it, and that one had my iPhone on it, and the GoPro was down low. So I have an amazing interview of Ashley Graham's breasts.
I, I'm sure they were a great guest.
Boy, man, because like I swear to God, I was
Wide
like, I have
angle,
these black
wide angle lens. It's just great.
because she leaned in and I was like, oh, I had no idea. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm interviewing Ashley Graham. Like I am like freaking out. And yeah. Again, the things that I could undo, like I would do them. But it's a learning experience. Now I have a crew that comes with me. So like it's either my husband. I also have two. So we have Fatima, who is one of my hosts as well, and then I have Rich and Maylee Ramos who come with me and do interviews too. And Maylee pretty much does all of my behind the scenes stuff. So she like
Right.
at Miss Universe in 2019, which was the last Miss Universe I was live at. She was like pulling people, hey, come here. She needs to interview with you. So I interviewed in the press junket 60 of the women that were competing of the
Wow.
90.
Yeah.
Because my team just went, what, pull you here. Come here, Stacy needs you. Come here. And the Miss Universe staff was really wonderful, and they brought me people as well. There were clearly women that were, either scared or uncomfortable or not had been, this is the first time out of their country. And
Well, some of them
I
don't have English as their first language, so I mean, you can understand it.
well, and that was it too, is that and I was really honored that they would say, well, we brought them to you first, Stacy. And I was like,
Mm.
okay. And I'm blessed that I mean, I get very emotional of it because that particular Miss Universe was when they debuted the Mod crown, the new crown, and the Miss Universe staff as the crown. So Kat had it and she was holding it, and then they put it away in the box, and then the Miss Universe staff said, and I'm like, who?
Like being summoned to the headmaster's office.
And I went, oh gosh, I'm in trouble now. And they're like, come here, Stacy. And I'm like, okay. So I went up on stage as every Filipino in the room goes, what's going on? No pressure here. And they handed me the crown, and I got to hold the Miss Universe crown. So here I am with this $5 million crown going,
Don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't
oh.
drop it.
Everyone asked me how much did it weigh? What did it feel like? I'm like, I don't know. But for 1 minute, I was Miss Universe, and I don't care.
You didn't quickly put it on your head? That would
Oh
have
no,
not been
no,
called for, I guess. No, you can't
no.
quickly.
Well, I am sure that the room would have lost it. The press would have been like, I mean, I was
Probably would
just
have been
like,
tackled to the ground by security.
they were actually totally cool about it. Like I was, you would have thought that, but and he's actually one of the judges this year, so for Team USA's or for Miss USA. So he's Pascal's really really sweet. He was super super nice. He just was like, I just was like, okay, my dreams are done. Like I'm good. We can go home now. I don't need to meet Miss Universe ever again. We're done. And Maylee and Rich are just like, did that really happen? I'm like, yes. And actually, Lisa Opie, I don't know if you know Lisa. Lisa's
Yeah.
I've known Lisa since she started. She started competing here in Miami, and Lisa actually held it before I did. So Lisa and I both got to hold it, and she even was like having because one of the people that she was her friends went to school with Muad, and so dude, it was like that moment I'll never it was magical. Like I'm like, okay, I'm geeked out. I'm good. We can go home now. And they're like, wait, we're going home? I'm like, no, we're gonna go to prelims. And um that particular prelim was pretty magical too, because they wheeled me right up to the stage and I sat within, you know, right on the edge of the stage and
Within spitting
I went,
distance.
yes,
You're in the
like
splash
they
zone.
it was I was and at one point like staff had come up to stop us from taking video and I went, press pass, thank you. Okay. Because they weren't allowing people to do videos or and I was going click 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 click. I mean, again, on
Yeah.
my phone. On my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
So, you know, it it, it has changed. I think it's much more accessible now.
Mm,
Clearly, I couldn't afford, and to be clear, Pageantry now makes no money. We don't charge for anything. I've spent thousands of dollars to fly, to do the things that I do, to have these opportunities. Um, but on the phones, on the gear, whatever I have to have,
mm.
just to be able to say I could be there and have that moment. Like it is, pageantry is not a cheap sport. But it is one of a kind, and it's pretty magical. So,
Have you
is
ever
that too much
tried
information?
explaining? No, but what I want to ask is, have you ever tried explaining any of the sort of any of this side of things to people who don't know anything about pageantry? And just you see, sometimes I don't know if you have any friends who are outside the pageant circle, but my best friend who I
I
play
do.
tennis with once a week, I had this very weird morning where, as I don't have a pageantry background, so I woke up one morning and I had a Zoom call with Miss Universe Ireland at 6. Then I had a coaching call with another Miss Universe at 7:30, and then I had tennis, and then I found out and I was going to be coaching another Miss Universe. So there was going to be 3 people I was coaching at Miss Universe. And I just went, that's so weird. Like, I never planned this. What on earth is happening? Like,
Did
and then
it
I was telling,
happen?
no, I was telling my best friend, and like, I said, have you ever had one of those moments where you just go, how did I end up here? Like, how did this all happen? And all
Yep.
he heard out of the whole conversation was Miss Universe. That's all he heard. He didn't understand any of the other significant. All he heard was Miss Universe. But my question is, have you ever tried explaining any of this craziness to someone who's outside of pageantry? And what has their reaction been like?
So I've got to be honest. Like I've had friendships end over my love of pageantry. Uh, People that just didn't get why I do this, and one of my dearest friends, she goes, why do you crave the attention so much? Why do you put yourself in these situations? Why
Mm,
would you want to make yourself feel bad? And I'm like, and I kind of went, wait, I love this. Like this gives me passion. Like I mean, my when I came back to pageantry in 2002, I was doing already a lot of charity work already. I was working and doing speaking for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, for the American Cancer Society. So I was really just using the crown as a microphone to be able to give me
yep.
broader spectrum reach rather than just being
Yeah.
isolated to one specific area. But I've my sister-in-law is my best friend now, and she didn't get it. She just is like, "You're doing what?" And I'm like, "Okay, so Mike and I, her brother, Mike and I are going to be judging a pageant in LA, and you get to have your room paid for. So let's get on an airplane and go." And she went, "Oh, okay, we can do that." I finally
That's
got her
okay
to
now.
come. She didn't go to the pageant, but the fact that she could go have a moment where she could get away. I mean, we ended up having tickets to Disneyland. Like she got to have a
Mm,
magical moment that was, and she went and met some of the girls, and she's like, "This is not so bad." Like, I get it now, but up until that point, this was 2019. So from 2011 to 2019, she was like, "I don't understand." And you know, my best friend, who's been through this all of this with me, we've been friends since '91, and,
Mm.
I mean, he gets it, but, you know, his husband is a fashion designer, so his husband gets it. He's like, "Where
Yeah.
are we going now?" It's hard to, I guess it's hard to even to my employees. Like, you know, I have 5 young women that are employees, um, and trying to explain to them, "Oh, yeah, I'm flying to LA for a charity event," and they go, "That's cool. Why?" It's
Mm.
my other life. You know, trying to explain the other side of it, because they see me as being this successful person within my business, and they want to be part of that world and part of gymnastics, and they see that side of it. But the
Yeah.
pageant side of it is, I think, kind of fascinating to them. You know, I mean, you know, at one point I was like, "You guys want to go to Miss Universe? Like, we can make that happen." And they all went, "Why?"
Why? It's very see. It's interesting to me because most of the people that I found who have a negative view on pageantry haven't really actually experienced it. And
Not at
to
all.
me, it's just a bit silly to go. It says more about you than it says about anything you're judging. That you would judge something so harshly and so sort of terminally when you haven't experienced it. And to be completely frank, when I first got into interviewing pageant girls, I went into it not really knowing what it was about, not having a particularly high opinion of it. But I think the one thing that saved me was, well, I don't want to judge something if I haven't actually, you know, given it a go, so to speak.
Right.
Obviously, I didn't give it a go, but getting to know the people involved, why they were doing it. And then ever since then, I haven't stopped. But it's very rare that that sort of negativity comes from. I mean, there's different issues inside the industry to be sure, but that sort of, oh, I don't see the point of it. Oh, it's just, you know, pretty girls in bikinis saying they're talking about world peace. It almost always seems to me to come from people who have no idea what pageantry is about. They've never watched a pageant interview, never attended a pageant in person,
Right.
and I I used to think that one of the things we should do is try to bring them into the conversation, bring them into the fold. And to an extent, I still believe that's the case. But sometimes I think people just is trying to spend your time converting them it's very, very difficult.
Very
So I
difficult.
think in
I
some
agree.
ways the best thing to do is for you to shine, for you to set an example, and then when they ask you, how'd you get into this? Then you mention the pageant bomb. Then they go, oh,
Right.
rather than going at them, beating them over the head with a stick, going, you should love pageantry, you should love pageantry, which I see again and again. And I just have this feeling now, Stacey, it's like, I don't think you want to do that because no one wants to be proven wrong. So if someone doesn't
Right.
think pageantry is great, and even if you prove them wrong, they're still going to resist you because you've come at them and attacked them. I'd be interested to know what
Right.
you think on that. That's sort of been my sort of journey in terms of should we try and convert people or not.
What really the whole idea again with pageantry now is the tagline was positivity pageantry in the beginning, and it still is.
Mm,
And I really feel like I want to be the positive face. I want to be that way that people see this isn't what people think it is. And even for the girls that work with me, when I interviewed Andrea Mesa, I was like, listen, I understand you may not understand this world of pageantry, but here, go watch my interview.
mm,
And then they came back to work and they went, "Oh, wow, she's really cool. Like, I had no idea." Like, and this, and you know, that changes. And honestly, that's been one of the easiest ways for me to be able to say, "Hey, go look at this conversation."
yeah.
You know, I don't need you to tell me. To, I don't want to try to convert you, and I certainly don't want to. I, I would love for everybody to see pageantry the way that I do. Um,
Mm,
because I really think it is a really beautiful place, and it really is about people really trying to make a difference in the world. And hearing these women articulate that, I think, and men now too, we do. I shouldn't always say women, but it, trying to open it up, that we have this really rare opportunity to take this crown and to move people with it, and whether it is locally, if it's regionally, if it's nationally, if it's internationally, it doesn't matter. My favorite saying is, a drop in the ocean eventually becomes a wave of change. I'm going to be that drop, me. And if I convert one person, if I change one life, that's my goal today. So, and if somebody sees that interview and they go, hey, I think that's cool, let me look at that. I mean, and
Yeah.
in the beginning stages of Pageantrynow, we just did coaching. That's all I did. I just did interview coaching, and I didn't care if it was for pageant or not. We just had people practicing, and it is to my pride that now I've had several women, girls as well, teenagers, that watched those shows and now are national title holders. Again, that moment when someone said, hey, would you coach for Miss Universe? And I went, sure.
That's a hard
Me?
sale.
I went, okay. I've had a first runner up. That's wicked cool. I haven't been a winner,
Yeah.
but and again,
Yeah.
is it just it's a team? Like it's never one person. I'm never gonna ever
Of
say
course.
that anyone. It takes a village to raise a title holder. It doesn't ever happen with one person's knowledge, because everybody is good at something and everyone has a different perspective. And at the end of the day, the title holder is the person that wins, and the people that are behind them hold them up and lift them up to that title. So,
yeah, I completely agree. That's well said. It does drive me crazy when one person tries to take credit. It does happen. But yeah, there's it's been weird for me recently, especially with Universe coming up, because one of my best friends won the Miss Universe GB title. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where you kind of have this, you knew them before, the whole before they were famous thing. And
right.
it's so weird to me because, as you said, the real person thing, like Pia, Catriona, they're real people. And people go, of course they're real people. But when you have that sort of hero, the fangirling thing, and you realize they're real people, it's a very weird moment. And then I've known Emma. Like Emma was sitting on that couch one day trying to do an Instagram post. Took her 2 hours because she was trying to get the caption right. In the meantime, I've edited 5,000 interviews. And to think that she's gone from that person, and she said her Australian stay was exactly what she needed. Now she's Miss Universe GB, prepping to go to Israel. And you have all these people who suddenly, her biggest fans, and I'm happy for her because, it's really grown her following, but they know her as that. Whereas I knew her as something else. And just in my
exactly.
head, it's kind of my head. I don't quite know how to explain it, but my head was kind of confused. It's like, oh my God, I'm so happy you won Miss Universe GB. You're competing. It's like, but hang on, you're also the same person who I videoed not being able to cook my pasta when you're wearing a towel on your head and your pajamas. And when I wrote the congratulatory post, I said, am I allowed to show that video? And she goes, no. I'm like, oh.
No. Darn it.
I still have that video somewhere.
But the real, like, and then that
Yeah.
again, maybe I told my husband, I was like, but Adrian like takes bloopers out, and he's like, Stacey, you're doing it live. If anybody watches, there's gonna be a blooper. Like, how many times have you made a mistake on camera? And I was like, ironically, when I'm live, I don't usually, I mean, I do misstep and say things that I shouldn't sometimes, but generally it's when you're asking me to do captions that I go, oh sure, let me record that, and it takes like 6 takes, and I'm like, don't give me a script, just let me say what I need to say, and we'll be done with it. So
yeah, I'm the same. Look, I embrace the bloopers. As I said, the funniest parts for me are the funny parts where someone is laughing uncontrollably, and that's to me, that's why I clip those out and put them up, because yes, there's a serious side to it. I think if you just lead with the serious stuff all the time, people are just like, oh, this is too serious, it's too heavy, I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
But when they see someone laughing uncontrollably or saying something they shouldn't, or you dig through their Instagram and you find a funny reel they put up, to me, those are the moments that make interviewing worthwhile.
Make it worth it. And one of the things, like, I got critiqued recently, telling me that my interviews are too long, and I was like, well, I have learned that the magic space where someone relaxes into it and we get to know the real person
Mm,
is between 25 and 30 minutes. So if I keep my interview only to 15 minutes, which I understand, that's our world. Most people are not going to
yeah,
sit through and watch
yeah.
those. But but you miss out on really good stuff where you find
Mm,
out things about title holders that you would never, they wouldn't get to that comfort level of talking to a stranger. They're used to
yeah,
those 3-minute sound bites that they're used to doing. Whereas if you get to that good place and they calm down and they're comfortable with you and you're comfortable with them, that's where the magic happens. So,
yeah. I
which
agree.
makes for a good podcast.
I don't think there is anything really such as too long. I think the world has gone two ways. One has been the ultra short. You got your TikToks, Instagram Reels, things like that, 15, 30 seconds. But then you've got, in terms of, are your interviews too long? You've got Joe Rogan podcasts and things like that, where they talk about heavy issues and it can go 2 or 3 hours. So
Right.
I think for me, it's like if it's the right audience, there's no such thing as too long. The problem is not the length, it's the audience. If you're not interested in what I have to say, that's fine. But it doesn't mean making it shorter
Right.
would do me any good because you weren't interested in it in the first place. So that to me is an odd critique. I can certainly see, okay, for certain platforms or certain formats, yes, you want to condense it. But podcasts, so something might be too long to watch. But if you're driving, stuck in traffic, or in Atlanta airport, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
and you want to listen to something, having a
That's gonna
3-hour
become what
interview
you
might
put in.
actually be good. This is all I
Public
remember about
information
Atlanta airport
announcement:
now.
avoid Atlanta airport. I'm gonna be in trouble. Hartsfield is gonna be. And now Miss Achievement World says, do not go to Atlanta Hartsfield. Oh god.
Well, you're the one that said it, not me. I'm just reiterating what you said. I'm all the way over in Australia, so what's the worst that can happen?
It's okay. They'll just keep me from, flying there. It'll be fine. I'll just drive. It's 12 hours.
That probably that won't be a hardship for you, given what you said about the airport anyway. Be like, you're not allowed to go to the
Yeah.
dentist anymore. It's like, oh no, oh that's so bad. Oh dear. Look, Stacey,
We could
before
go
we
into
go to
so long.
those
I'm sorry,
um,
love.
before we go to those final 10 questions that we've talked about, is anyone that you want to give a shout out to? I'm sure there's many, but any shout outs you want to give?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, always, it sounds so cliche, but I love my husband, Michael Simpson. You're an amazing human. You put up with this crazy world that I wouldn't be able to do this without you. Diana Lawrence, my amazing director. I have been friends with you for 20 years. You have been the light that I look forward to, and it has been my amazing honor to be your title holder. Tell my friends, like, I know my world is crazy. The things that I do are nuts. You guys support me. My sister-in-law, who gives so generously to every charity that I'm like, please, I'm raising money. She's amazing. My in-laws are fantastic. They just are great humans. And then, to all my pageant friends, like all the people that have been on the show that are part of this, Fatima for sticking with me, Maylee and Rich for, being along for the ride, knowing that we're never going to get paid for any of this stuff, but we're going to go on an adventure. Like, Maylee at Miss USA, my defibrillator went off, and that woman stayed in the hospital in evening wear for 3 days, and stayed with me. So,
Wow.
yeah, interviewing Paula Shugart, and my defibrillator went off. Interviewing Paula Shugart. I'm grateful to everybody that steps into my life, and you shine light onto me. It is my honor to shine light back onto you. So thank you, and to you, because dude, man, what you're doing is exactly the same space that I want. I want us to have more people that do this, because I think that it's important that everyone gets an opportunity to share their light and their story and the magic of what pageantry can be. So, cheers.
I'm sorry, I'm still getting over the fact that you were in an interview and your defibrillator went off. I mean, I thought I had technical issues, but nothing quite of that magnitude.
Well, and to make it even more interesting, Kaylee Harris
Interesting. Is that really the
went,
right adjective? Interesting.
yes, because Fox News was recording and caught it. I was in the background when they were interviewing Kaylee. So I'm like, Paula, can I just get a minute to interview? We're 2 minutes to preliminaries at USA. And all of a sudden, my defibrillator's never gone off before. And all of a sudden, I hear beep, 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 beep coming from my chest. And I went, Paula, 1 minute, please. I think my defibrillator is going off. I swear to God, it was that calm. And then boom, and thank God there was a half wall behind me, because we're in the theater. I drop. Paula just goes white as a sheet. I'm like, oh crap. But the entire Miss Universe staff, the security team, are around me. So all I see is everybody in black standing around me. The EMTs from backstage come rushing to help me out. The PR staff are like, came immediately to me, Stacey, what can we do to help you? How can we? And I'm like, just get me out of the theater. Because then it's, I hear 2 minutes to showtime, a minute 30 seconds to showtime, 1 minute to showtime. I'm like, let me just crawl out of the theater. And so if you go back and you watch the 2018 Miss USA, you can see me as they go overhead camera being wheeled out of the theater.
Okay. I haven't had quite that moment yet. They talk about Steve Harvey moment. I'm going to call that my Stayc Simpson moment, the moment when you just, wish you were dead on the red carpet. Not literally, but just wish like the whole world would swallow me up. I haven't quite had that moment yet. I'll get there. Oh, that's quite. I really need to go and watch that now.
You. And the Miss Universe staff are amazing. Paula Sugar's an amazing, and then so this was prelims. The hospital did emergency heart surgery on me the morning of the finals for Miss USA and got me out of the hospital so that I could go to finals. Like the entire hospital knew what was going on, and the Miss Universe staff had sent me flowers. Like everybody was keeping up with what was going on, and so my Maylee wheels me into the theater, and the security guards go, "Oh, she's here," and roll me into the theater so I can watch Chesley take her first, like the final look walk, because I took a nap. I was exhausted. Like I wasn't feeling great. And so I get to see Chesley walk out on stage and the final look. And I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, because Maylee's never been to Miss USA, so she's like, yeah, this is awesome.
It's a memorable first time.
And then they have afterwards, they always have a press conference. So we went from the theater to the press conference room, and Paula always walks in the new title holder. So she always walks with security with the person who walks out on stage. And you see Paula see me, and she goes, and they walked up to me. She goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came here to meet the new Miss USA, and she's right there, and I'm doing my job." And they handed me the microphone and let me ask the first question. So they love me. I love them. I am forever grateful. If I never, I mean, I know Crystal. I pray that they will offer me the same amazing opportunities that Miss Universe organization has as well. But I know Crystal back from when she was doing prelims. Like I remember sitting at Miss Fort Worth with Crystal's mom, and her being first runner up at Miss Fort Worth, and her mom going, "They're never going to let her be Miss Texas." And I said, "She's going to be Miss USA. Just wait." So Um, I'm super proud of that, and so I hope that she is changing the way we do Miss USA and the way we see Miss USA and
Mm.
bringing back some of the old things that we were doing. And so to her and all the staff, keep changing the world. We like that. So lots of shout outs.
It's going to take me a while to get that defibrillator story out of my head. I don't know how I'd deal with it if I heard beeping coming from my chest, knowing that an electrical shock was coming. But jeez. And then you went back to the
My
pageant. You really
concern,
are crazy.
but
I've heard people get the
I
pageant bug, but this is insane.
no, no, and I had a heart attack at one of the pageants I competed at. Almost cardiac arrest. Woman of
I think
achievement.
you should shout out the defibrillator manufacturer because that obviously worked.
Well, yes, the defibrillator, and so it is the same thing with me. I have heart failure as a side effect from my original cancer. And at one point, my heart function dropped to 10%. So my defibrillator
Wow.
kept my heart going. And then instead of getting a transplant, I was the first woman to ever receive cardiac stem cells to repair the damage to my heart. So it is because my potassium gets low when I get excited. And if your potassium gets critically low, it puts you in cardiac arrest. And so that it even happened with, I was so afraid with Achievement World because my heart rate started to raise and I'm sitting in my bedroom being crowned or, not even crowned, like hearing my name. And I'm trying to hold my husband's hands. This is the first time he's ever been at a pageant with me in my bedroom. And my heart rate was like 155. I'm like, oh crap, this is going to go off again. What the So, again, the reason I'm retiring is because I don't think my body can take that pressure.
I mean, there are limits to what I can probably put as a meme, but there are so many TikTok audios that just immediately leap to mind, like the whole "oh no" audio leaps to mind,
Oh
and the one where it
no!
goes,
Oh
"It was
no!
at
Oh
that
no!
moment
Oh, that
that
would be
she realized."
awesome!
Yeah, you're there, and there's like in the cardiac, the defibrillator goes, "Oh no! Oh no!"
Oh my god, that would be brilliant! Oh
It
my
might be a
god,
little bit on the nose. I mean, you are having a heart attack, Stacey. I mean, it's not that funny, but it's the timing of it. I mean, just
okay. But you know what? The thing that keeps me alive is that I laugh through it all. So in that moment, my concern was the fact that Miss USA was getting ready to start and that I might embarrass the organization by being on the floor. And the only thing I kept
Who's that lady lying on the floor in that lovely gown? I don't know.
Wait, one of the dads was a police officer and he was going to go to the bathroom before the show started and he sat down with me and he's like, okay, so I'm gonna just sit with you. And I was like, sir, please don't touch me because if the defibrillator goes off again, it'll shock you. And he goes, ma'am, I have been shot at. It is fine. I am here to keep you calm. I'm like, your daughter has worked endlessly to be on that stage tonight and you need to go to the bathroom so you can watch her walk out on stage. And he went, okay. Because I am all about everybody else's experiences. I rarely do I get selfish to the point where, I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, anyways.
Well, that's why
Shout out to
that's
that
why
dad.
you
I don't even
interview.
know what dad that is. Yeah. So.
Well, you probably had a very
Yeah,
weird angle of him if you were lying down when he sat next to you.
I was sitting up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was awake the whole time, and all I did was I handed Maylee my phone, and I'm like, so I've told because I keep all of my medical information on the phone, and so I handed it to her. I'm like, call Michael and 911, and she goes, I'm like, not in that order. Call 911. She's like, pretty sure everybody else is gonna call 911 because. So I am in Reno, and my best friend, one of my best friends, is calling my husband, going, so Stacy's defibrillator just went off. What do I do? Yep. can't buy these moments. Adrian, you could make this could be gold for you on TikTok.
I think I'm pushing the limits. I'm thinking about whether I'd be game enough to put a defibrillator video up on TikTok as humor, but we'll see. We'll see. Live dangerously. That is a first. I mean, we mentioned Marissa briefly. I mean, Marissa getting struck by lightning has stuck in my head for forever. She's forever the girl who got struck by lightning. I remember she put up an Instagram story, and wherever she was, there was a tornado coming, and she had videoed the tornado. I said, whatever you do, don't get sucked up by the tornado. And she goes, yeah, can't be the girl who got struck by lightning and hit by a tornado. It's like,
hit by a tornado.
You think? It's like, yeah, I mean, like, if you two are together, that'd be great. You got hit by...
Right. I hit Hurricane Andrew, which was one of the biggest hurricanes to ever hit the United States. I watched the roof pop off. Like, the stories.
How Stacey, how can you watch a hurricane ripping your roof off and not have your defibrillator go off? But being crowned as a pageant queen is enough to make your heart beat. I mean, how?
I didn't have a defibrillator then. I didn't have a defibrillator then. So yeah, I didn't have cancer then. I didn't at that point. I just been the child of abuse, so it's fine.
And I guess that's why you got to laugh at everything. It's like, well, God's ripping the roof off my house. Well, what's the worst that can happen?
My husband laughs and he says that because you want to add insult to injury. In 2011, I was hit by a truck riding my bicycle. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've had cancer 3 times. I'm going through chemo now. I have heart failure as a side effect from my original cancer treatments. They gave me 8 weeks to live in 1996 from my original cancer. 2011, I was training for a triathlon to raise money for a cancer charity, and I got hit by a truck. And my defibrillator went off.
I'm sorry, that's just... Yeah. When they say, there's a message, there's a story, there's a moral of the story. I don't know what the moral of the story is. I don't
give up. Well, okay. Moral of the story is I laugh a lot. You have to laugh at the insanity of it. It is absurd. And I am waiting for, hopefully, Telemundo to call me for the telenovela rights, because clearly the story is absurd. And that you just have to find the good in stuff. Like, this stuff makes me happy. Sharing my story makes me happy.
Not that getting hit by a truck, surely that doesn't make you happy. I'm sure you weren't laughing when you hit the ground after that's like, I got hit by a truck. I can't wait to tell everyone the story.
I was underneath the truck, and I tell people, like, the handlebars went into
Did you
my
get
abdomen,
the driver's license?
Dude, yeah, he lost his driver's license and his job, because it was also it was a utility truck, so it wasn't. It was bad. Like, I had to learn how to walk again. I was in rehab. Like, I had to learn how to talk again. So which is why I like laugh now, because my pageant walk is so wonky. He put me in heels and I walk sideways. I'm like, wait, what happened? Why can't I walk? I'm like, well, I've got 20 damaged discs in my back. Of 23 discs, I have 20 of them that are damaged. The only thing the reason my spinal cord didn't sever was because of gymnastics. So, and probably pageantry, because you have to keep your core so strong for when you have a good walk. Yeah. So, I mean, and now I'm like, whatever. I'm old. Who cares? If my walk looks wonky, I don't care anymore.
Stacey, let's go through these final 10 questions.
I made you cry. Oh no!
It's been all right. It's been all right. No, it's with the laughing tears. I have not cried, but like tears sometimes come out, like when sometimes when you're proud moments or emotional moments. But anyway, let's wrap this up. So, final 10 questions, which you know what they are, but here we go. Number 1, what's your favorite word?
Happy. Love. Probably love. Love is my favorite word.
And number 2, what's your least favorite word?
Hate. I know it's really boring, but it's true. I don't like the word hate. I think it's an ugly word. So
And since I know you know these questions, I'll just ask you question 3 the way it's supposed to be asked, which is, what turns you on?
a good sense of humor. You gotta have a good sense of humor. And honestly, that's the reason I have the guy I have is because we laugh all the time. Like we're and he's snarky. So like that's the most important thing to me. So laughing, humor, like that, those are the things that make life worth it. So, you know. I know the next question. Next question is what turns me off.
You can interview yourself. I'm going to go have a glass of
I
red wine over here
know.
because it's 1:00. So what turns you off?
I I really I hate bullying. I hate using the word hate, but I just being that I have been bullied most of my life. I really think that it's ugly, and it is definitely not. It needs to be stopped, but whatever, you can't. It's human nature, unfortunately.
You know the next question?
Go for it. Tell me. I
What
don't know which one
sound
it
or
is.
noise do you love?
Kids laughing. I love the giggle. It is like nothing that I have ever, and it makes me keeps me alive. I don't have kids of my own. I borrow everybody else's kids, so but hearing them laugh and giggle just makes me happy.
You can probably say that as a female. I don't know as a male. I could say as a tennis coach, I just want to borrow your child for a second. Anyway.
Oh, well, I tell people that I do not have children of my own, but I have 375 students, and I get them for 45 minutes, get to have, teach them gymnastics, educate them, hear them laugh, have them have fun, and then I give them back to the parents, and the parents pay me
Mhm.
for that. So that's awesome. I get them for fun time, and I know that sounded wrong. Oh God.
No, oh, dear me. Okay, let's just segue to the next question before we dig that particular hole any deeper. What sound or noise do you hate?
It would be before that, kids crying. Now it's my new puppy whining at the door. He just makes this horrible squeal. It's awful. So I would not be able to have a child that cries because like we've had him for 4 weeks and he just sits in the door and goes it's yeah. I know I kids crying is not my thing. So
Are you sure that's a dog? That doesn't sound like a dog. That sounds like a pig making that
it
squealing
is
noise.
I know. No, it
You sure
sounds
it's a
like that.
dog?
It is unearthed. Wait. I would let you I can have Mike come in here and shut the door and you will hear it. It is horrible. No.
Well, I don't want you to bring the dog in just to shut the dog in its face. I mean, that's not very nice. Just for the purposes of an interview.
We right before we were setting up the cameras and Mike didn't let him in the studio. He shut the door and this sound and I went, Michael, just open the door. He's like, he's in my way. I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to hear that sound anymore. I don't care. Make it stop.
Oh dear. Question 7. This is the one I said I had to change. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Mm, I want to be Jean Grey. I want to be able to use my brain to affect other people. So I'm a redhead. I want to I want to use that mental ability to make other people not do things to my will, but just do positive things, like do good things in the
Okay.
world. So,
Okay.
and the appropriate answer to that is the F word. So
Okay. Thank you for that. It's been a long time since I've been able to ask that question, so thank you for that. Oh dear.
Diana, I love you. I
Uh,
didn't say it this time. So.
Yeah, everyone just says the F word. Question 8. What job or occupation, other than your own, would you most like to attempt?
I would want to be a doctor. Like I have, because of the medical issues that I've had through the years, I absolutely, and I've had doctors ask me where I went to medical school because I know my information really, really well. I'm like,
Mm,
life. So, and being part of Dr. World Productions, I think it's really interesting because several of the title holders and I are, friends, and they know my medical stuff, and they think it's so cool that someone that isn't a doctor they could talk to, and tell me more. That's cool. But now that I have friends that I can go, so this is what's going on. Do I need to go to the hospital or not?
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool to be able to
It's
talk
cool.
about that stuff. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Ah, that one I haven't ever thought about. Like I mean, there's a lot of things I used to say I wanted to be a proctologist or a garbage truck driver just to be silly, but um I I don't I think I've tried so many different jobs that I'm game. Like, I don't know. I probably don't want to be police officer. I think that would be not good. Because I even tried the politician stuff because that used to be the answer. I don't want to be a politician, and I
Mm.
tried. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Probably a police officer. You know, I don't like danger. I clearly have my own danger without having to add to it. So
Yeah, you don't need any help from any third parties there. You're doing well by yourself. Dear me.
Mike
Let's not
says
tempt
that
fate.
nature stopped trying to take me out, and that's why we're now into trucks because nature stopped. So
Nature knows when she's beat. Dear me. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
you made a difference. I want to know I changed a life. So that's really deep and meaningful, but that is why I do this. To change one life would be enough. So I want to know that I helped. So congratulations. Let's go, drop some F bombs and you made a difference.
We can only hope. We can only hope. Well, look, Stacey, it's been a ride. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for letting me be here. I really appreciate it. I mean, honestly, um, no, not trying to blow smoke or anything. I am honored to be your guest, and I love what you're creating. I love the fact that there's enough space in this world that we can have more than one space that we can share
Mm.
stories. And I really am grateful, and especially because I know with the ladies in the UK and Australia, they haven't had those places that they can feel safe and have an opportunity to be able to share their story. So um, grateful that you open those opportunities up. So keep doing it. It's good.
Well, I thought it was about time. I mean,
Someone has to
it's
like.
about
I mean,
time.
I can only do so much.
Yeah, yeah. We'll never have any shortage of people to interview. That much is for sure. But I don't as many interviews and podcasts as I've done. It's funny that I still hear firsts, like things that I've never heard before. And today I've heard a couple of them: the defibrillator and being hit by a truck. I have not heard either of those stories before. So
It is my pleasure to be the first, probably the last.
I hope the last. I don't want people coming on and going, yeah, I got hit by a truck today as well. It's like, no, that's not what I did this for at all. Let's just finish. Ralph here has written a while back. He wrote, "You're truly an inspiration and wonderful friend, Stacey. I wish you continued success, my friend. I have to go and get ready for work. See you next time, and God bless you both." Ralph wrote that at 4:35, and then an hour and a quarter later, he's written, "Great interview."
Great
So
interview.
obviously, work is going well. Ralph, thank you for watching. But Stacey, I'll keep you on the line, as I said, for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. Thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open, so if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.